What's up, everyone? Howard Kingston here, entrepreneur, marketer, and co-founder of Growth Velocity Academy. In this episode, I want to talk about 3 things I wish I had known when I was starting my entrepreneurial career, setting up my first ever businesses, right? Because here's the thing, guys, we all start somewhere. Now, I grew up in Ireland. My accent is Irish. I grew up in Ireland on a farm, a dairy farm, right? Like the most opposite you could ever think about when you think about, you hear of people like Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak when they were, doing Apple, creating Apple, that they were, in their parents' garage building computers. Well, that was not me. Right? Definitely not me. And I remember when I was setting up one of my first businesses, being down in Ireland on the farm. And I remember I used to go down to this little room at one side of the house. And, I'd be outside maybe doing something on the farm that day. And then I'd come in and I'd go down to the little room and I'd start working on stuff. And, the internet, I think it was dial-up internet at that time. So I was, trying to figure stuff out by myself with all these books, and I just didn't have a clue what to do, right? I thought, I read books and I was trying to figure it out, and I didn't know anyone around me. There was not one. I really remember just at some points just not knowing how, like, what to do and getting really frustrated because I was just like, I wish I knew someone that could mentor me or kind of like just give me some advice. And I only knew one guy that actually had a business, and I used to kind of bug him about stuff, but he got a bit frustrated with me, I think. He didn't want to be my mentor, basically. And I used to kind of go to hang out with him and ask him questions, and he got frustrated, I got frustrated, and it was just a really frustrating time. And I made loads of mistakes, and that's just part of the process. So what I want to talk about, if I went back in time and I was setting up, my first businesses again, what are some of the big mistakes that I just didn't know back then that I would do differently this time? Okay, that I really wish I knew. All right, through to now the last 3-4 businesses I've launched have gone on to get millions of customers or millions of revenue or raise millions of investment. And I just say that. I don't try to say that to kind of impress you. Like, I don't like it when, sometimes I'm not mad into people tooting their own horn. But, I just say that because hopefully that encourages you, because I didn't have a clue when I started out. And guess what? I learned how I could do it. I made mistakes. I did the wrong thing. And then I started figuring it out, and now I think I'm pretty good at launching companies now, actually, and I'm really confident going into them that I know what to do to get success. So that's what I want to talk about in this episode. And a big misconception I just want to cross out right there right now is that it's all about just being, some people are smart or some people genetically just have it, and I don't believe that. I believe there are things you can do, and this is something you can learn, and if you take the right actions, you've got a better chance of success. Okay, so 3 tips I wish I knew when I was starting my entrepreneurial career. Tip number 1: pick something you care about. Those of you that are listening and kind of hearing this, a lot of you are entrepreneurial, right? You have ideas. You get excited about stuff. You want to change the world. Of course you do. If you're here now listening to this message, it's because you want to change the world. You want to grow some kind of world-changing business, right? And that's cool. But I remember when I was starting out, I was definitely chasing shiny objects, right? I'd kind of get an idea and I'd get really excited about that. Oh, that'd be an amazing $1 billion business. And without necessarily caring that much about the idea. Okay, so let me break that down a bit. Like some examples. One of the first businesses I had was this holiday business called Irish Ancestral Holidays. And I launched that for quite a few months. And After dealing with some customers and stuff, after maybe 6, 9 months of that, they were all very passionate about their ancestors, right? It would, the idea behind the business was that I'd research people's ancestors for them and bring them on a tour around Ireland where their ancestors were from. So I genuinely think it's quite a good idea, even still, because you've got hundreds of millions of people from around the world that have Irish ancestors, right? The challenge was, though, that these people were really passionate about their ancestors. And I found researching people's ancestors, it's an area called genealogy, I found it really boring. So even though I love the idea, I didn't love the work that was involved in it. Okay. And that was just one example, because here's the thing, guys. Like, there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs. I can guarantee you that, right? There's no straight line when it comes to whatever business you launch. It's not going to go in a straight line, straight up and to the right and success. There's going to be ups and there's going to be downs. And it's when you're really truly just passionate about a subject that you have no problem writing the downs, okay? Because you love it so much. Like what I'm doing now, I help teach people, entrepreneurs and marketers, how to grow world-changing businesses through Growth Velocity Academy. Guys, if an asteroid came along and just wiped out Growth Velocity tomorrow, I'd still do the same thing. It's what I'm on this planet for. I love it. And, when you find something that you're really passionate about, it gets you through the hard times. All right. So that's the first thing is the first tip is pick something that you really care about. Tip number 2 is don't wait for it to be perfect. Just start. Okay? Don't wait for it to be perfect. Just start. Now, something I see time and time and time again. People, they have this big business idea. They get really excited about it, and then they spend months behind the scenes, like making sure the website's perfect, making sure like the business cards are right, the type font on the business card is just perfect. And you know what, guys? Just start. I remember when I was launching that Irish Ancestral Holidays business as well, I must have spent 8, 9 months writing the business plan. Now, I got bad advice on that at the time, but that's what I did. I spent 8, 9 months writing this bloody business plan. And, really, when I should have launched that business after about 2 or 3 weeks, like, it's far better to just start getting feedback from the market as soon as you can. There's one of my favorite quotes from a guy called Mike Tyson, the boxer, says, everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face. And what that kind of means from a business and what it means for your startup, I guarantee you, your product is going to change. Once it starts making first contact with real people, people are going to react to it differently than you think they will. So what you want to do is just start, guys. People think that they need to have this massive global business or it has to be perfect. Guys, just start. There is not one business in the world that's successful that didn't just start. Okay, you can have the best laid out plans, the best ideas, but if you don't start, you'll never get there. Okay, so my big advice, I waited too long. In the early stages of my entrepreneurial career, I spent too much time planning stuff out, writing business plans, creating websites, rather than just getting something small and maybe not fully formed yet into the market. Reid Hoffman, who's the co-founder of LinkedIn and some other businesses as well, super smart guy, has this famous saying in the kind of startup world called, if you aren't embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've launched too late. Which he's really saying there that you need to get it out early and start getting feedback as soon as you can. So tip number 2 is don't wait. Don't try and kind of overthink it. Just start, launch something simple today or this week and start getting feedback on it. All right. So that's tip number 2. Don't wait for it to be perfect. Just start. And then tip number 3, ABS. ABS, always be selling. Now, what do I mean by always be selling? So I mean that you want to be selling your product as soon as you can, as often as you can, and always. Because the act of selling your product means that you're focusing on the value that it has for your customer. Okay? Now, what do I mean by that? I'm going to break this down a bit because it's a really important point and I see so many people make mistakes with it. Now, so many people, when they're launching stuff, they focus on all the stuff that doesn't matter. So, for example, I remember when I was launching that holiday company, I must have spent 2 months writing a grant application. Okay? Cool. And it was successful and I got a few thousand euro at the time from it because I was based in Ireland. But you know what? It didn't create any value in the, other than getting a bit of money in, great. It wasn't confirming and making the product better for the customers. Okay? That's just one example. Writing a grant plan, another example. I spent ages getting the business cards printed, right? I got business cards and I printed them and I spent loads of time. Should I use that design? Should I use this design? And then, I started getting like headed paper done and all these things that just don't matter, right? I used to think that a successful business, this is a true story. I used to, when I was still when I had my first job, I used to collect pens from the work. If I saw some pens, I'd stick it in my pocket and I kind of like secretly bring 1 or 2 pens home and put them in a box because I thought a successful, when I have my own successful business, I'd want to be able to have pens to write with. Okay. And I thought like I've made it as a business person when I have stationery. Okay. And that's just the things I used to think about. And rather than doing it, rather than spending time on all this stuff that keeps you busy, the one thing which is the true feedback and true way to know if you have a successful business is by selling things, by getting your product into the market and people, humans, purchasing it off you. There's you can fill up your brain with all this other stuff, but if that is not happening, people are not seeing your product and indicating interest and then making a purchase, you don't have a successful business. So why don't we remove all that other stuff, not do it, and just focus the most amount of your effort on getting your product in front of the right customer and having them make a purchase. And you know what? If they don't buy it straight away, guess what? Then you need to change something and change something and change something. But eventually you'll get to a point where they do want it and they make a purchase. So forget about all that other stuff, okay? Business plans, business cards, stationery. I'm going to be a bit controversial here, and I'm even going to say raising investment. I've raised millions of dollars of investment over the last few years, and the reality is I see a lot of entrepreneurs, all they do is raise investment from investors, and their business still hasn't figured out how to sell something to a customer. So I'm a big believer in that. If you really focus on that one thing, always be selling ABS. Okay. So guys, in this episode, I've been talking about what are the 3 things I wish I had known when I was just starting out. And, there's a misconception that people are born good entrepreneurs. I don't believe that. I think you, to a degree, fail your way to success. You figure stuff out, just like I did. I made loads of really bad mistakes. Just imagine that. I used to think the key to success was having a box of pens, and that is a true story. I still have that box of pens on my desk, just as a reminder of where I came from. Okay, and but that's not the case. And there's really 3 things that I wish I had known, and I know this will help you too. 1, pick something you care about. 2, don't wait for it to be perfect. Just start. And then 3, always be selling. So guys, if there's someone that is launching something and wants to hear this message, please share this with them. But also do subscribe, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Okay, so thanks very much, guys. And if you want to get a free resource, I have a bonus resource just for you for this episode, and it's all the tools and the different tools that I use when I launch my businesses. It's all in a free ebook called The Growth Toolkit. I'm happy to give it to you for free. It's like what email service I use, what kind of website builders do I use, all the tools that I use every single day when I'm running my business. And it's, to be honest, I've tested all of them, and these are the best ones in the market. All right, so I'll give that to you for absolutely free. It's in the notes in this episode. Okay, peace out, guys, and I'll see you in the next episode.